It's Grady and Big Joe on FM 107.5 at 1070 The Fan.
Grady and Big Joe Show, 107.5, 1070 The Fan. Michael Grady, Big Joe Stasiak. Good stuff with Mike Wells last segment. But just kind of, different thoughts on because I tweeted this out earlier in the week. We talked about it yesterday, Joe. Maybe it was last week, but I know I tweeted it out yesterday that what we're seeing isn't too far off from the expectations headed into the season. Some people had high hopes, and we talked about, hey, with Andrew back and et cetera, these young guys pick things up pretty quickly, and you can't forget injuries for sure. You can't forget injuries. But it's painful to watch it. It's painful to watch it unfold. It's more painful now seeing it unfold the way it's unfolding than the way that we all projected it in the off season. So that's the tough thing.
Yep,
that's the tough thing. But for me, to a certain extent, especially now, especially after what I saw against the Jets, and not just because I had Jets fans in my ear for 3 hours. That was worse than I anticipated. That was worse than what I anticipated.
That was the worst game all year.
Yeah, yep. No doubt. So a little bit more frustration there. Let's get a nice little pick me up. Let's go to the Payless Liquors Hotline. NBA season is tipping off tonight. The Pacers season will tip off tomorrow. The home opener against the Memphis Grizzlies, and a familiar voice. Expect to be in the booth with Mark Boyle, and that is the Hall of Famer Bobby Slick Leonard. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Michael, how are you, pal?
I'm doing fantastic. So good to hear from you, Coach. So good to hear from you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm anxious for the season to start. Really am. I think it's going to be a fun year, and we're going to win a lot of ball games.
I hear the Pacemates got new dances, Coach. Does that add to the excitement for you?
Now, what is it?
The Pacemates. They got some new dances and stuff. They got a special one for the Nets, I hear.
Oh, no kidding. Hey, you know what? The Pacemates have been a big part of the Pacers organization going back a long, long time. As a matter of fact, going back to my day when I was coaching. So yeah, they've been great for the organization. And you know what? There's a lot of copycats in this business because when we started the Pacemates, there wasn't in the NBA. There wasn't any. There wasn't any dance teams or anything, and all of a sudden they started springing up everywhere.
Can you
copycats?
Yeah, can you directly credit Nancy with that?
Oh yeah, right in our basement. I remember like it was yesterday in our basement in the house we just moved from. We were in 48 years. She had the girls down in the basement going over routines and everything. Yeah, I sure can.
Who choreographed that? Was that you? Were you a judge? Like, hey, a little more leg kick here, a little bit. How do you come up with something that's never been done like that before?
Well, you have to have a special talent, Joe, which none of us have.
No, we don't.
No. Coach Bobby Slick Leonard, the Hall of Famer, joined us on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Let's get into the team a little bit. The Pacers showing their commitment to Myles Turner on a 4-year, $72 million deal. Averaged 13 points, about 7 rebounds a game last season. What type of a jump are you expecting from Myles Turner?
Well, he's into his 4th year, and I think, we look at players. I've looked at players down through the years, and guys come in as high draft choices or such, and sometimes it takes a couple years, sometimes it takes 3, and sometimes I'm hoping that 4 would be the number. Because I think, with this much experience as he's had in the NBA, it's time to say, hey, this is the kind of game that I have. And I'm hoping he has a good year.
Coach, on that front, you expect him to have a certain kind of game, and you hope he can have a kind of game, that kind of a game. But what if he doesn't? Who is it more incumbent upon to get him in the best situation he can to provide for the team? Do you move him out and go a different direction, or do you force him to, hey, no, we know you can do this. You just, have more guys like Popeye and Big Al and guys like that work with him for more of an inside game?
Well, you know what? I go back. I go back to Mel Daniels, who I had in the middle for a number of years, championship years. And when we first started, he was one of those guys who wanted to shoot from outside. When I first got him, and I said, "Hey, big boy, nothing outside of 15 feet. I don't want to see it." And Mel developed a pretty strong game down there at low post. It was strong enough that he scored over 50 points in the ball game more than once. So I'm hoping now that's the way the Pacers are talking about Myles, is to get him in the low post. Now it takes footwork, it takes good hands, it takes a number of things to have a good low post game. And I know Popeye will work with him and the coaches will work with him, but that would seem to me to be his avenue right there. I think he's got to get in that low post. Now, defensively, we know I want to see him get tough and mean and pick up on his rebounding. We know he blocks some shots. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you one thing, hey, when you start throwing out $8 to $18 million, you got to get something in return.
Man, yeah, you're right, Coach. And can you teach tough and mean? Can you teach someone to be tough and mean, or is that something you either have or you don't? Mel Daniels. Something tells me Mel Daniels was pretty mean, even when he was shooting outside.
Mel was meaner than hell, I'll tell you that. We had a whole bunch of mean guys. We had a bunch of tough guys, but the only thing I can say now is, you sat there, Michael, and Joe, you've watched him for 3 years, so have I. Now let's see what he comes up with.
Yes, absolutely. Well, one guy that I'm really excited about, obviously, and took the league by storm and everybody by storm, was Victor Oladipo. And what I'm impressed with, Coach, is he's not satisfied. He's saying he's not satisfied, but he put the work in the gym in the offseason, kind of demonstrating once again that he's not satisfied, that he wants to continue to take his game to new heights, which is pretty scary because he came in at, $20 million a year, and a lot of people thought that was overpaid. And now $20 million looks like a bargain for Victor Oladipo, Coach.
Yeah, it's a bargain. I just don't want him to I don't want to see him split up his time between basketball and politics.
Because he could be mayor, he could be governor.
Just want him in this.
He's quite a guy. He's a talented guy.
Oh yeah.
You talk about a guy that's a fun guy to watch play. Victor fits that category. He's really a fun guy to watch. Coming late in ball games, last year he hit threes, big time threes, and let's face it. After that deal we made with Oklahoma City, he comes in here, and he lights it up. I mean, he lights it up. The fans love him, and it's great. He's a guy. I just hope he stays here forever.
Yeah, this team started last year, obviously, as a huge underdog. Nobody really expected much. And I tell you what, with the year he had and the eyes, or the heads that were turned and the eyes that were open to this team, it's surprising that there's not getting even more love than last year. Can it be, again, a motivating force for this team, or you can only use that so often?
Well, the last year was the thing I look back at, and you got to be careful. We won a lot of ball games being way down in the fourth quarter. Now that's great, but Michael, if you had your druthers, would you rather be ahead in the fourth quarter or behind by 15?
I don't like those slow starts, Coach.
Yeah,
I don't like the slow starts.
So we won a lot of ball games that way. Now, the other thing we did, we caught some ball clubs, and I'm talking about Oklahoma City, and I'm talking about Golden State. We caught those ball clubs when they had a lot of injuries on their ball club. So in my mind right now, looking at the East, looking at the league for that matter, I'll take that 48. I'll take that 48 wins. I'll take that 48 wins and get in the playoffs with a goal of reaching the Eastern Conference Finals.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Look, and things are open with LeBron out of the Eastern Conference, and Toronto with Kawhi Leonard will be interesting. We know Boston will be really good. I know Philadelphia is good. I just don't know how good, Coach.
Well, you know what? This is a sneaky situation. I'll tell you, the ball clubs, you start looking around and you got to be careful. First of all, Mark Boyle and I were sitting down the other night, and we said, well, we're going to put them in that top four in the East with Boston, Toronto, Philly, and us. Mm-hmm. We've got some sneaky teams over here that you're going to have to be careful of, like Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee, you got to be careful of Milwaukee.
Yep.
I don't know what well, it's the same old story. You know what? When you tee it up, you got to go out and beat everybody, and that's about what it comes down. Yeah, but I think, I think that it was a great thing last year, and I remember being up in that main concourse, and people would come to me and said, "Hey, Slick, you know what? I don't care if they win or lose. I love them." And so they developed a heck of a following. People really took to them, and I don't think that's going to change. I think they'll come right back. I think the fans will be very supportive, and I think it's going to be a good time for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. We're looking forward to it. I wonder about the motivation for some of these guys. You got a lot of guys still on one-year contracts. How would you coach them? How does that work inside of a locker room?
Well, yeah, I don't. That should take the least amount of coaching. That should take the motivation. That should take the least amount, because hey, you're sitting there, and me or you or Big Joe, we're sitting there in our final year, and we're saying, hey, if we want to get in that $1 million bonanza that's going on, we better come up with it. And that's the way I look at it. Well, you wouldn't want to make me a free agent, because I'm gonna go after it like crazy.
Coach Bobby Slick, Leonard joining us on the Payless Slickers hotline. Around the NBA real quick, as a competitor, Coach, does what they're building in Golden State now with DeMarcus Cousins, who still may not play until next year, does it excite you, the type of team that they have and the dominance that they've had, or does it bother you in any way?
Well, I would like to see a little better. I think everybody would. You don't want one team to dominate. Where you walk out and say, well, Golden State's going to win the world championship before the season ever starts. I think now we've got Houston's going to be a factor. You don't really know. You get into a playoff situation. If you recall last year when Houston was in that, they had Golden State down 3-2, and then Chris Paul got hurt, and they lost him for the rest of the way. Then maybe they could have pulled it off. But from year to year, there's some teams. They're sitting there with dynamite players. There's no question about that. And so these other ball clubs are going to have to come up and go after them and see what they can get done.
Hey, Coach, one of the things we just learned about in the Pacer statement, and that was the passing of Dick Tinkham. Can you talk about him a little bit? One of the founding fathers of this franchise, and I know you and Nancy and Dick were instrumental to having it. Eddie White started the show and kind of told us a little bit about without you three, we wouldn't have Pacers basketball.
Well, that's Tink was quite a guy. Let me just tell you. I didn't just meet him when I came with the Pacers. I was playing at Terre Haute Gersmeyer High School, and our coach Howard Sharp had graduated from Lou Wallace of Gary, so he liked to take our team up into the region every year for a couple of ball games. So lo and behold, we go up to the region, and guess who we're going to play? We're going to play Hammond High School, and that is Dick Tinkham's school, the Hammond High Wildcats. I'll never forget it. And you know what? The guy was a pretty daggone good player. He was a pretty good player. I can't remember who won the ball game, but he was good enough that he got a scholarship to DePaul University, and went on and played at DePaul and was the captain of their daggone team. So he was quite a guy. And of course we were great friends, and he was responsible for so many things here. I mean, well, first of all, he put a lot of guys together for those ownerships and everything. He was responsible for so much. And I look back at players that came with the Pacers where he was instrumental in getting them here was George McGinnis, Hall of Famer, Mel Daniels from Minnesota, the deal that was made with Minnesota. They got Mel Daniels here. Hey, I'll tell you something about Tink. Tink wanted to be involved in everything. Everything, boy. He wanted to be involved, and he was a great guy, and he did so much. He did so much for the Pacer organization.
Well, and it's one of those things that's kind of odd, an athlete getting into the management part of that. Was his vision similar to, the way he played, or did something just click with him as a businessman that he knew how to find success? Well,
he was a big time competitor. When you start getting to be, he was very successful at DePaul, not only in basketball but in track, and so running the 400 meters and those kind of races, 200 meters, you've got to be a competitor, boy, to run those kind of races, and that carried over into his, going to law school and getting a law degree. And what I'm saying about Tink, here's what I'll say about him. Tink was a big time, and I mean big time competitor. There's just no question about it. He would never give in to everybody else in the league. And he was always, the funny thing about it, he wasn't just involved with it. He knew everything that was going on in the ABA. So he was special. Let's face it. And it takes those kind of guys going back that far. It takes those kind of guys to get an organization started. And he had an awful lot to do with getting this baby started, I'll tell you.
Yeah, huge debt of gratitude to him. I hope folks remember as we get ready to get this season kicked off tomorrow. Hey, one thing about you mentioned a new house. I heard you moved into a new house because you just wanted to have an elevator like all the rich people.
You know what, my boys, my kids, 4 boys and a girl, they said, you know what happened to me last year. I started January 5th, and I fell down, and then come back June 15th, and I fell down again, and I spent the whole year in rehab and home health care. It wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Right.
It just wasn't a whole lot of fun. And so they said, no more walking stairs. We got, in this new house, we got 3 upstairs bedrooms for the grandkids. And I have not been up those stairs to see those rooms up there. They won't let me go up there. And so then we got a fabulous basement. When I say basement, it's more than that. And that's where my workout, where I'm going to be working out. We've got it all set up, television. My one thing I'm waiting to see my daughter Terry. All the memorabilia from my days in high school to IU to the Pacers to the NBA. She is putting up an entire section in that basement of that memorabilia. So I look forward to seeing that because that stuff laid around over in the old house for a lot of it did.
That's cool.
But it's good. I mean, it's good. Nancy's very happy with the new place, and so we were over there 48 years over there, and a lot of nice things happened. You just mentioned the Pacemates. That's where the Pacemates got started over in that house, over in the basement of that house.
Well, now you got a bigger area that you can audition.
Oh boy, we could. Hey, you know what? They want to. I'll tell you one thing. This is the biggest basement I've ever seen, and if they want to have auditions now, we could have about 30 or 40 or 50 Pacemates.
That sounds good. Hey, Grady will be your MC, and I'll be your judge. I'll help you.
Hey, Joey, I'll tell you one thing. I can't wait this year till we have the contest again.
That'd be fun. Hey, one other thing I heard from
you know what I'm talking about. I can't wait till we have the contest.
I can let you know this. I may need to take you with me to the Jacksonville Jaguars game. I'm going to have a warm up, from what I understand, at the Jacksonville Jaguars game on November 11th. So
tell me what it is.
The shrimp eating contest. I don't know when. It's like between the quarters or something like that. But yeah, we'll get to do the shrimp eating contest in that game.
Oh, I thought you said they were going to put a cow out there.
They might. I don't know. Hey, I hear all this rehab hospital stuff. You learned a lot. You're now a grill master?
Oh, yeah. This is a dandy, boy. I got this thing. It's called a Traeger. Traeger.
Yeah.
And it's done with wooden pellets, and there's every kind of wooden pellet: hickory, apple, cherry, you name anything. It goes in and it smokes. You know what you got on the grill. It smokes that with that flavor. Oh, it's magnificent. Hey, Joy, now I am Nancy. You're coming out to the house because I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to pick. I want you to pick out the biggest steak that you can imagine, and I'm going to cook that baby for you and sit here. Nancy and I are going to sit here at the dining room table and watch you eat it.
We can do that. We'll have some shrimp cocktail with it too, and of course,
I'm going to bring Mike along so he can get a few laughs too.
And where do you shop for your meat, Coach?
Joe's Meat Market down in Main Street in Carmel.
Yeah.
Joe, I tell you, you go these places, Joey, where they have what's it, pork tenderloin, you know those sandwiches.
Yeah, big as your head.
The pork tenderloin sandwich spreads over the whole plate, and that, he supplies a lot of those restaurants with those pork tenderloins. And he's got everything down there that you want, everything that. So when you decide, when I said, "Hey, Joey, I know I'll get Mike a nice fillet."
Okay.
But I got to get you one of those monsters.
Okay, we'll do that.
So when you tell me what kind of steak it is, I'm going to Joe.
All right.
I'm going to say, Joe, I got Big Joe down there that wants the steak.
Yep.
And tell you, he knows how to eat.
Oh yeah.
I want you to do it right. I want you to do it right.
That's right. Joe's Butcher Shop.
Get it in the damn grill. I may not be able to get it in the grill, Joe.
You better get in the big trigger.
Yeah. I got the biggest one I got.
Awesome. Coach, thanks for the time. We really appreciate it. And we will be listening to you tomorrow night. You and Mark got the call of the season opener against Memphis. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, old Mark's ready to go.
He is.
Stopping. Yeah.
Good deal. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Hey to Nance.
See you guys.
There you go. The coach, Bobby Slick Leonard. That'll be up on the podcast page. That is a must listen to go back. And again, yeah, Dick Tinkham, read up on the Pacers, history a little bit, know a little bit, about that. And I think you really have an appreciation, not only more for Slick and for Nancy and what they've done for this organization, but I did not know that they actually held Pacemate auditions and practices in Slick's basement. Very, very interesting there. Again, 1070thefan.com. That's the website to go to pick up all that kind of stuff. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Pacemates in studio next, right here on 107.5 and 1070 The Fan.